Hello my friends and welcome back. It's episode 102. They have not given me any more time, worryingly.
The day will be ours.
Have they given me more item uses? Nope.
A test for my magic.
Time is at hand. The path is set.
Simply say the word. To the skies! I'm uneasy about this. Victory magic is returning. My body aches at once. Heading to ground.
Morale soars. Come then.
Don't want to get too strong.
My legs grow heavy. The time is at hand.
I'll show you what a witch can do.
Another step on the... I shall see it done.
I hope I can just kill him.
Stronger than ever.
Okay, well he can hardly damage me, and I don't think his units replace.
You face me.
The futile struggle of a rebellion damned. Your end draws near, Cornian whelp. Cease these fatuous endeavors and return to nothingness unending.
Many times you've tried, Baltro, but you shall never break our spirit. I promise you that. Now prepare to be vanquished by the might of Everett!
The sorrows of this tragic war must never again afflict our land. It's what my father would have wanted. This time, Vinisa, no harm will come to you.
I fear nothing. Half-wit!
I'll strike first.
Yes! Agony away!
You shall.
Unicorn, grant me strength!
Decay!
Vermin.
Agony away!
I'll help.
Be consumed!
Oof.
I've only just begun.
Healing you. No. Easy now. I can still fight. That must have hurt. No. You've got this.
Get in there.
Unicorn, grant me strength!
I regret nothing.
I'll slay you all.
Is that better?
Okay. I've seen what I needed to see.
Until my dying breath.
stronger than ever. The time is at hand.
Just hit him. Just noticed that she was sitting there and not really doing anything. Oh, that made the difference.
Path is set. Your villainy ends here.
Time to die, Baltro.
Oh, Faye.
Unicorn, grant
All
me strength.
stunned.
I'm not ready.
Impudent whelp.
I won't hold back. Like new.
Do not resist.
Unicorn, grant me strength.
Impossible.
Impossible!
We march on.
The Amelia with keen crits strategy works really well.
Impressive, aren't I?
Well fought.
Dumpstered. Whoa! Gimmicky fights are actually quite tough.
Whilst I still feast on the souls of Zenoira, my might is eternal.
Do you not seek their resurrection?
A witless ideal, born of the fool Galerius. He served his purpose well enough in prizing open the key to the beyond. And now, he shall be consumed like all the rest. What's more, there would be little benefit in reviving mere humans.
Do the souls of your brethren mean nothing to you?
As fuel for my magic, most certainly. What primitive evil should I reanimate next, I wonder? A monster capable of crushing Fevris beneath its heel, perhaps?
I refuse to hear another word of it. Your vile schemes end here.
Spirits of Zenoira, hear my call. Your emperor is no more, and in his place, a tyrannical fiend who craves nothing but absolute control. Tell me, is this what you truly desire? To sacrifice your very essence in service of this demon?
Pathetic child.
Souls of the departed, if you've any humanity left within you, lend me your aid!
Oh,
No!
their strength is leaving me. You've ruined everything, accursed fool!
These souls are not a power one can wield, Baltro. They are human lives. Human will in its purest form.
Impossible! The city's very nature has been recast. How is this happening?
It appears we arrived just in time.
This isn't how my tale concludes. I won't allow it.
The only escape awaiting you, Ultro, is death's cold embrace.
This reminds me of Necklord from Suikoden 2. Maybe one day I should play Suikoden 2.
wretched disciples! You dare turn on your master!
The time has come, Alain.
Let us lift the curse of the unicorn and bring the salvation of heaven to these lost souls!
We'll end this together.
Nihility beckons. All of my knowledge, all of my research, lost to the endless emptiness of time.
Noble warriors of Ferrith, you have our eternal gratitude on behalf of every Zenoiran soul to have ever lived.
GG!
And farewell.
Okay.
Ah, there you are. Your coronation is set to commence at any moment.
A word first, if I may. With the much-awaited fall of Zenoiran rule, we finally attained our most coveted dream. 'Twas a vow I made to the ring itself. A promise fashioned out of steel and blood. Yet, can a champion tempered in the flames of war truly lead in times of peace?
You can't lead at all. Your mum is still alive. So, you actually shouldn't be king. She should reclaim the throne. She was mind controlled the whole time.
From the inception, Your Highness, the Liberation Army has boasted a singular gift. Its ranks born nobles, sellswords, and civilians alike. Disparate nations united as one under a common banner. Your banner. None could ever question the strength of such a leader.
He speaks the truth, you know.
Oh, and there she is.
Should you not be sound in bed right now?
And miss the day my son is crowned king? I wouldn't so much as dream of it. Alain, you stand before me a man full grown. One who will rule these lands with compassion and love. Just as you've done for all those who fought beside you. Be proud, my son. Not only of what you accomplished, but how you've made it so.
You know, the so funny thing is, she hasn't aged for the 10 years that she was, like, trapped. So, they're kind of spookily closer in age than you would really want them to be right now.
I will, Mother. Thank you both, from the depths of my heart.
She got to keep her youth, and poor Joseph got to get old.
Now then, a radiant future for Cornea awaits.
Year 906 of the Hallowed Chronicle. Thus, with all of Fevrith as his witness, a bold young king ascended the throne. Ere long, the scourge of Galerius and ancient Zenoira would be little more than footnotes on the pages of history. And though scars of war yet blighted the land, its people, awed and inspired by Cornea's noble ruler, began their arduous trek down the path to recovery. Forevermore with the Chronicles of Fevrith, extol the Savior Alain's sacred journey, a legend only embellished in the generations to come. That of a divine beast and a liberator king that bore its name, the unicorn Overlord.
It's a corny ending. That's more paladins than you see in the whole game. I think you only ever see two, Joseph and that one other evil guy. This corridor gonna go on forever, like like that bit from Spaceballs. Oh my god, it really is. You must be up to like 50 guys by now. Oh, there we go. You think you would do that in front of a crowd, like on a podium somewhere in front of his people, rather than just quietly in the castle. Do I risk trying to skip the credits? There's definitely more to come. There's always more to come. Young Alain was done by a girl. They always employ Japanese women to do small boys in Japanese voice acting. After the war, Lex left his rule of Cornea to Alain and set forth to hone his mastery of the blade. Whenever he encountered the former allies in his travels, he and they would spar just as they did during their prior days of the Liberation Army. Though there was a great distance between him and Alain, their bond of friendship remained as strong as ever, and Lex swore to brandish his sword for the king should the need arise. I didn't do all the rapport stuff, so these are probably not all the best endings, but whatever. I'm going to presume that Chloe's ending is that one as well, if you don't give her the ring. After the war, Hodrick was granted a post as captain of Cornian Royal Guard, a role which saw him dedicate great attention to the growth of his soldiers and their unshakable unity. At times he and his mentor Joseph partook in intense sparring bouts, which never failed to draw onlookers to the training hall. Though offered the role of Chancellor due to his immense efforts in protecting the prince and shepherding the liberation to victory, Joseph declined and instead chose to see out his days as the new king's personal blade. Ever a stern leader, he worked tirelessly to train soldiers that would serve as Cornia's new guardians and ensure the kingdom would remain safe long after his eventual passing. Renault returned to the land he once ruled under Zenoira's magic, and though some would never forgive his cruel treatment, others came to see the sincere regret with which he earnestly faced their resentment. His commitment towards starting anew saw him grow into a fine leader with an eye ever focused on the future, unhindered by the tragic failings which plagued his past. Dude, you were mind controlled. Why is everyone blaming you for this? Surely this can be explained to people. Declining a position within the Royal Guard, Clive returned to the province of Ashen Blue and began working on establishing a new form of self-governance with his fellow knights. His bold philosophy, which espoused the virtues of collective rule under a single authority, soon spread throughout the province, from the knights of its order to the farmers in its fields. After the war, Adele returned to the province of Ashen Blue, a decorated hero and beloved by fellow knights and townsfolk alike. His bright demeanour saw him remain ever popular, playing with local children during the day and partaking in revelry at the province's lively taverns by night. In the end, he chose to live out his days as a beloved knight in the company of his people. Benaris. When the Liberation disbanded, Benaris set out to travel Cornia and hone her skills, hunting bandits and aiding in the reconstruction all the while. Years later, she was welcomed back to the province of Ashen Blue, where she chose to settle down and become an instructor in the military arts, thus giving rise to the mightiest army the province had ever known. His role within the Liberation concluded, Rolf's reputation as a brave hunter earned him a post as Guardian of Cornia's forests. This duty saw him not only defend the land from wild beasts and poachers, but tend to the natural bounty of the region and heal the scars of battle inflicted across the woodlands. Such benevolent deeds brought him nigh endless praise from the people he served. After the war, Mordant abandoned his life as a mercenary and lived on as a humble stonemason. While the reconstruction of Bartamimo was his first priority, he eventually turned his gaze towards the pursuit of aesthetics and the creation of ever more elaborate architectural projects. The stunning facades which line the main thoroughfare of his home, thus given the name Morden Road upon his eventual passing, were beloved by all for generations to come. Upon reading off a list of his accomplishments within the Liberation at his mother's graveside, I knew she was dead! I knew it! The way he spoke about her, it was like she was gone. Orc departed on a journey of fervent magical research, never to return to his homeland again. Thus, the theses he enumerated later in life came to be treasured as a comprehensive compendium for hopeful sorcerers who, as of yet, lacked the requisite background in the magical arts. After the war, Jeremy quietly departed from the Liberation and returned to life as a mercenary, wherein, no matter the danger he found himself in, his quick wit and years of experience always saw him to safety. Upon completing a particularly lucrative job with a few old faces from the war, he and his men drank an entire tavern dry and were thus writ in the pages of mercenary legend. With Cornia restored, Miriam was named Captain of the Knights of the Rose, a role which saw her dignified air and indisputable military prowess earn her the adoration of rising female knights from both within her nation's borders and abroad. New placed emphasis on collective strength, the Knights of the Rose quickly grew to be one of the most coveted orders in the land. After the war, Kitra continued to serve in the Knights of the Rose while taking up a post guarding the people of Gran Corine. Whenever trouble struck, she and her hammer was always quick to the scene, much to the delight of onlooking citizens. A skilled craftswoman, she also aided in rebuilding the city and enjoyed unique popularity amongst the local children due to her sharp wit and fiery attitude. Though her efforts in the war saw Fran offered a commanding role in the Knights of the Rose, she politely declined, stating that she preferred to stand as an equal rather than a superior. Retaining the status granted her the latitude to charge into battle and rescue her allies at a moment's notice, a fact which all who knew her agreed was for the best. The peace returned to Cornea, and Melisandre slipped past Alain's watchful advisors day after day in order to request his hand in marriage. While her wish never came to pass, the beauty and vigour of her spirited blade were the highlight of many a royal banquet, and thus stole the hearts of countless guests. After the war, House Millet began to reclaim its former glory, a pursuit that Cullum enjoyed even more than his lady Melisandre herself. Okay, that's a bit of a weird thing to say. Though she always posed him an array of challenges, the fact that Cornea's new king was the object of her affection presented an endless struggle for a faithful steward. In light of Monica's deeds within the Liberation, the noble house Mordium's name was restored to its rightful place of honour and respect. Her calm demeanour, stately dedication, and moral clarity earned her the fierce support of her people, a groundswell which only grew after her grandfather's passing. While she bore great commitment towards helping her people, she never forgot to honour her vassals in the annual stargazing festival which she herself was responsible for creating. There are a lot of characters in this game, we're going to be here for a while. After the war, Artemis saw to it that Gilbert was crowned king and left Sol Draga to support his brother in the restoration of Drakenhold, taking guise of a mercenary, a stage actor, a sailor, and much more along the way. In centuries to follow, local legends throughout the nation told of a host of men named Aramis who appeared to help when the land seemed to be at its most vulnerable. With the war concluded, Hilda laid down her spear and pursued an expertise in medicine so that she might aid those who suffered. After years of ardent study, she became an apothecary and joined Prim in caring for the sick and infirm throughout Feverith. Forevermore would history speak of the countless lives she and her sister saved astride her gallant, loyal wyvern. Similarly, Prim's attention turned after the war towards ailing peoples of Feverith and supporting Hilda's dogged pursuit of medical knowledge however she could. Her work caring for the infirm eventually led the Orthodoxy to bestow upon her the title of Honorary Angel, an accolade which Prim could only humbly decline. Decline. When the war concluded, Olban donated his earnings to the people of Drakenhold's desert and took up the task of rebuilding his home. Soon enough, the towns in the region grew prosperous indeed, and the land once known for its crime and banditry began to flourish in true under Orban's benevolent leadership. After years in the desert, he acquired a ship and sailed the oceans in search of new ventures. Magellan set out to reunite his old band, which had scattered across Drakenhold, after which he returned to the desert and announced them a group of reformed, chivalrous thieves. Tales of their virtues spread even beyond the desert's borders, attracting a horde of young aspirants looking to join their ranks. As the band's numbers continued to grow, their keep became a vibrant settlement that saw steady progress under Magellan's guidance. After the Liberation disbanded, Lisa joined Magellan on his journey and met with influential trader along the way, whom she oppressed with her sharp tongue and keen business acumen. While she had always been skilled in the ways of trade, she was able to build a far more profitable enterprise than she ever imagined with the funds she earned during the war. She then used her wealth to bolster the desert's economy and improve the lives of all within. The war concluded, Gilbert appointed Gloucester as ruling lord over the desert. There he worked with Alban to better the conditions for the people of the dunes and champion them from a position of authority. His benevolence and unshaking sense of duty earned him the adoration of his citizens, who erected a statue depicting Gloucester atop his loyal steed after his eventual passing. After the war, Emilia turned to Bamrote and shattered her undefeated streak atop its rankings, yet despite her assured victory, the crowds never failed to cheer her on. Upon her eventual defeat many years later, she rejoiced to have met another warrior as fearless as she, and at Emilia's urging, the two set forth towards new horizons. After the war, Berengaria formed the Tricon Mercenaries, and the band was offered a new role as Drakenhold Order of Knights. However, they chose to decline, and mercenaries travelled the world fighting for the downtrodden and less fortunate. In the years to come, history would speak of the brave endeavours, and all who lived in Fethriff would know the Tricon name. The central figure in the reformed Tricon mercenaries, Bruno found himself instrumental to the band's renewed efforts. Ever striving to become Berengaria's equal on the field of battle, he easily gained the trust and respect of his fellow mercenaries, though his immense strength meant skirmishes ended before others could earn even the slightest glory. After the war, Travis travelled the world with the reformed Tricon mercenaries, proving both his skill and intellect along the way. As a lover of literature, an uncommon trait among mercenaries, he always brought rare and valuable tomes to add to his expanding library whenever his work led him home. After the war, Gilbert was coronated as the new king of Drakenhold and immediately made a name for himself as a savvy ruler. Long had he chased his brother's shadow, yet now he stood in the light of his own making, one which filled his people with hope and joy. In the years to come, history would sing his praises as a heroic king who single-handedly delivered his land from the all-consuming ashes of war. With the war concluded, Virginia received the proposal of marriage from the newly crowned King Gilbert, an offer she gladly accepted. As a representative of Cornea and Drakenhold both, she was beloved by both nations for the strides she made towards goodwill and unity. Over the years, her bold demeanour and skillful blade work earned her the love and adoration of countless fervent admirers. After the war, the relationship between Cornea and Drakenhold was mended at last, and Leia officially entered into Virginia's service. When her lady gave birth to a royal heir some years later, Leia surprised the court by doting on the newborn prince even more than his loving parents. When the prince grew old enough to wield a sword, Leia served as his stern yet kind master. That's a character I never used. I think I'm missing some characters here, because she's just on her own. After the war, Celeste continued her work with the local Elheim militia, swooping down from the skies to aid a townsperson in danger or provide relief to an injured soldier. One person rescued by Celeste later started a business which his customers could travel to the sights of Fethriff atop a noble griffin, a venture which he named after his saviour. After the war, Yuna brought her powerful magic to bear as Cornea's court sorceress. Towards the end of her life, she tearfully retired from the king's service and returned to her swamp to teach a rising generation of witches as their wise village elder. It's said that she maintained her youthful visage until her final days and departed this world surrounded by her steadfast disciples. After the war, Sylvie continued to travel the lands and pursuing her research into ancient Zenoira. The memory of the Empire's modern reign fresh in their minds, the world was eager to learn more of their deeds in days of old. And Sylvie's work garnered immense interest. A deeper understanding of Zenoira's history and culture spread through Fethriff. Further scholars built upon Sylvie's findings, thus memorializing her as a pioneer in the field. With the war concluded, Riddle at last realized her dream of becoming a Knight of Elheim. Though some still whispered about her half-elf blood, she unflinchingly proved to herself through great skill and valor, and thus silencing those who discriminated against her. In a few years' time, she came to attain even greater glory than her mother before her, and stood as a proud beacon of hope for half-elves through every corner of Elheim. Returning to Elheim, Rosalinde travelled the nation to support her brethren as they overcame the atrocities committed by Zenoira. Even amidst her busiest moments, she always made time to visit Etelinde, and given her role as the augur to the Terranos, the two spent countless hours in each other's company. After the war, Illithon continued to stand in Rosalinde's service, not only acting as her personal guard, but sharing stories of her exploits with awestruck dark elven children. It is said that he and a human woman lived out their days together in loving marriage. Long after the war's end, Valinor continued to serve Rosalinde as captain of her personal guard. Having been separated from her lady during the invasion of Elheim, Valinor gained a renewed sense of duty and refused to leave Rosalinde's side, even when the situation didn't call for a guard's protection. However, Rosalinde herself found this dedication to be quite endearing indeed. The war with Zenoira concluded, Etelinde returned to Elheim to restore its charred forest and downtrodden settlements to their long-forgotten glory and pride. By the time the nation had recovered in true, elves and humans had formed a deeper bond of unity, and the divine Terranos commanded the respect and love of both races alike. After the war, Garamandir was reinstated as Etelinde's personal guard and served faithfully beside the divine Terranos. Though the land had entered a time of peace, she trained ever diligently with the bow. One legend speaks of a day she spotted a vile rogue at Elheim's border and fired upon him from miles away through a crenel at Castle Lahorl, piercing him with a single arrow. After the war, Lahalongos first aided in the reconstruction of Elheim before swearing his loyalty to Etelinde anew, thus serving as her second-in-command for all of Elfheim. From that moment forth, he has dedicated his life to protecting Elverida, securing Elheim, and ensuring peace of Elven land would never again be disturbed by war. Until next time. Word of the courageous human raised by Bestrel spread throughout Fethriff, eventually drawing the gaze of renowned historians who penned tales of her exploits in freeing Bestoris. The magnitude of her story resonated across the lands, and Unifi and her heroic brethren came to be idolized by children everywhere, even those who had never once met a Bestrel. At the behest of other Bestrel bloodlines, Morad ascended to the throne as the new king of Bestoris and the sole surviving Lion Bestrel. Having experienced life as a human and Bestrel both, he ruled without discrimination and quickly garnered loyal support from subjects of all races and bloodlines. Even after Zenoira's collapse, Ramona continued to lead the Frost Blooms, in aiding wounded Bestrels and restoring Bestoris to its former glory with her vast wisdom and keen insight. She also served as counsel to the new king of Bestoris, thus dedicating her life to bestial prosperity and aiding their relations with other lands of Featherith. Though offered a role as Knights Captain by the new King of Bestoris, Govel declined, and thus handing the post to a trusted subject and returning home to manage his grandfather's tavern. Despite its age, the tavern thrived for years to come as a warm, welcoming establishment and treasured haven for wary Bestorials taking part in the restoration of Bestoris. The war concluded, Bentron lent his hammer to the restoration of Bestoris and the construction of monuments to honor those fallen in battle. Every year, the anniversary of the war's end saw Bestoris blanketed in bittersweet aroma of flowers left as offerings for those memorials. At the suggestion of dear friend Dina and the Snow Petals travelled throughout Bestoris to aid the ongoing reconstruction efforts. Her fierce loyalty and firm leadership proved equally useful in times of peace, as successes saw countless hopefuls aspiring to join the Snow Petals, human and Bestorial alike. In time, her distrust of humans thawed like the northern ice in the light of spring. Wow, these two idiots. After the war, Nina returned home, much to the joy and relief of Millet and her parents. Having reconciled with her family, she then departed once again to travel the world and aid in ongoing reconstruction efforts. In time, tales of her exploits spread throughout the land, and admirers gathered in every town in hopes of meeting the vivacious knight. Bruce reformed the Rock Rats in true, not as bandits, but as a band of mercenaries seeking to aid in post-war recovery of Featherith. His kindness, humility, and eagerness to accept tasks few would dare endure saw him grow into a respected figure among both the townsfolk and his fellow mercenaries. RPG endings, man, they just go on and on and on. The war concluded, Sharon returned to Ronmort Church to tend to the wounded. Everywhere she and her trusted companion O'Cleese went, they met with kind hearts and restored faith in the church's teachings. In time, their tale came to be immortalized in a massive stained glass window adorning the wall of their beloved Ronmort. After the war, O'Cleese laid down her sword in exchange for a prayer book and thus took up residence in Ronmort Church to spread the Orthodoxy's teachings. There, her status as an angel saw her inspire fervent faith in those around her, and even without a blade in hand, she forever strived to sever the encroaching roots of evil. After the war, Renice led a quiet life in humble service of her Albion Abbey. Her kind, caring nature saw many of her former allies visit the church to offer their prayers and reminisce over a warm meal. In times of leisure, she would pay visits to Scarlet, and the two quickly rekindled their years-forgotten friendship. After the war, Titania travelled the world to broaden her knowledge and advance her medical studies that should the plague strike again. Though she believed that faith alone could never heal the sick, she softened her stance upon witnessing the warmth, care, and curative magics the land's churches offered their people. Upon her return to Cornier, her research was greatly funded by King Alain, and in time it grew to form the central tenets of Featherith medical practice. Canon girl. Didn't get to be canon on this occasion. After the war, Scarlet ceded the pontificate to Sanatio and returned to Palavia to live out the rest of her days as a humble priestess. There, her presence saw a renewed faith in orthodoxy as believers gathered to hear her sermons and tales of Albion's saviour. At times, she could be seen in the cathedral's garden, conversing warmly with young angel and imposing man clad wholly in black armour. Conversing warmly with a young angel and an imposing man clad wholly in black armour. After the war, Umar spent her days defending the orthodoxy as a sacred knight, pursuing her study of botany all the while. The verdant flower garden she tended to quickly became one of Albion's most sought-after pilgrimage sites. Instead, at times she could be seen hosting Scarlet in that very garden, where the two reminisced about their distant childhoods. After the war, Jerome returned to Largan and began restoring the city and its surroundings with the undying aid of his beloved citizens. Though lacking in mastery of governance, his kindness, loyalty, and occasional baked good earned him the never-ending trust and affection of his people. His work liberation complete, Fredoka returned to Paeston and began to walk the long road towards reconstruction. His unwavering dedication towards the task at hand earned him the renewed trust of his people, and together they ushered in a new age of peace and prosperity. In time, his beloved son's grave came to be forever adorned with flowers and offerings. I don't know why this guy gets such a good ending. He was, like, pretty bad. After the war, Sanatio travelled Albion in aid of the reconstruction, wherein witnessing the breadth of faith in the land and thus altered his own beliefs. Despite Scolin's insistence, he had long declined the pontifical mitre, but in time he relented and chose to honour the trust of those who believed in him. Thereafter, as the new pontifex, he and Nigel worked tirelessly to guide the orthodoxy down the proper path and spread its teachings to any who would listen. Right. There's more to come. We didn't find out what happened to Chloe, so I assume that's going to be last. There she is. And thus Chloe was crowned queen, and lent her wisdom to Alain's governance of the land. In time, the kind-hearted king and his dependable queen would give birth to a beautiful girl, a princess who would come to be adored by all of Cornea's loyal citizens. I wonder what happens if you choose a guy to receive the ring. Is that it? That's it, man. It's just a one-liner. You may now commence the quest Unicorn Overlord at the start of the final confrontation against Galerius. You may now select True Zenorian difficulty when starting a new game. You may now explore Gran Corine and the surrounding area after Alain's coronation. You may now visit the altar on Palavia to return to before you perform the Rite of Covenant. New quest is now available at the ruins of northwestern Cornea. You may now be prompted to save your clear data. You may then load this data to gain access to new possibilities. Okay, and that's it for now. I doubt the True Zenorian difficulty is like any more difficult. The game is very, very easy. But hey, you have to play the whole game through to even unlock it, so it's a bit of a pain. I certainly won't play the game twice. But that is it for now, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next campaign.